And perhaps the time had come to go back to the mystics who actually put our lives into perspective and hold a mirror to the future. We are living beings who are not sure of how long we live or even why we live. A couple of years ago at dinner, I found myself sitting next to Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, no less. He's also known as the Guru of Joy. I asked him, what's the purpose of life? With a very enigmatic smile, he told me that's the most important question, but that I would have to find out for myself. So who am I? Am I this body that changes all the time? Or am I my emotional self, which is in constant turmoil? The Buddha said, emotions keep man on the boil. Or am I the melting pot of thoughts that I call my mind? Because thoughts are being constantly created and destroyed in our minds. Each individual is unique, but each one of us also has hundreds of cells within us, speaking in different tones. Sometimes they're in conflict with each other. And even those inner cells are constantly changing. My self of 5 years ago may no longer exist. So think about it, if we have a difficult relationship with ourselves, we also have such difficult relationships with the world around us, and not least with food and with money. Money became indispensable to us the day we stopped barter. And it is now as vital as the air we breathe. It has vastly improved our lives, and it certainly made our world much more democratic. Because today, many people can afford most things in exchange for a few pieces of paper, like buying a watch or having a restaurant meal or air conditioning or travel, for example, which was the preserve of the rich not so long ago. But money is not just a piece of printed paper or a stamped metal disc. It has acquired emotional connotations and psychological hues. It colors our relationships with everyone. It spells power, control, comfort, security. Wealth has become the yardstick of success, and it has become an obsession. Very few people give it up voluntarily. And Andrew Carnegie was such a man. J.R.D. Tata was another such man. Michael Jackson had very little control over his money. He earned more than $1 billion, but died with debts of at least 400 million. In a moving tribute to the pop idol, Germaine Greer wrote, "Another beautiful boy is gone, wiped out in an instant." Michael Jackson, unable to cross the threshold into manhood, has died at 50, still a boy, coquettish, fantasy-ridden, horribly vulnerable, unable to take control of his life. So whether we earn 300 or 300,000, we still have to understand money, build a healthy relationship with it, realize its true value and purpose. The internet, of course, is an amazing place for information. Technology hooks us up with the whole world, and emails deliver letters at almost the speed of thought across the world. But the web has also exposed us to worldwide conflict. It has brought home many more anxieties from all corners of the globe, and it's made it difficult for us to switch off. Our inner chatter mirrors the outer chatter that we are now exposed to every day, all day. And for our own sakes, we have to now take stock of our fragmented selves. For the sake of our health, we need time for quiet reflection. Our split and divided consciousness has to be healed and made whole. Because consciousness is power. Power over ourselves, power over the aging process, perhaps even power over death, ultimately. And we have more luxury, more food, more choice than ever before, and more mental health problems. Our distant ancestors had to forage for food. But today, especially in London, the choice and the variety from all over the world is incredible, of fruit, vegetable, dairy, meat, whatever. More and more people today have a difficult relationship with food. There's anorexia and bulimia at one end of the spectrum, and on the other hand, there's obesity. And these are all signs of imbalances inside ourselves. Because an illness of the body is an outer expression of a disorder within. In ordinary life, most people are ill, and there are very few people who do not complain about something or the other physically. So the body could have an organic or a functional imbalance. Then there are the emotions, because they deliver shocks to our system through anger, disappointment, passion. And an undisciplined mind with unbridled thoughts of jealousy, ambition, greed, anger, and negativities also upsets the delicate balance in our bodies. So the first step to equilibrium is really self-understanding. And equilibrium leads to good health. Equilibrium of the body, of the emotions, and the mind. The only solution is to silence the mind, even momentarily. Because it's in silence, really, that all the original thoughts come and the original work done. Otherwise, we imbibe everything that's thrown at us from television, from newspapers, from books, from outer chatter. So where is the opportunity to actually generate an original thought? There isn't that silence or that gap. And we have to do this, and we have to weave it into our daily lives. And we must do it when it seems the most impossible, like, riding in a train in the rush hour or walking in the park. Because the whole point is to do it consciously. So instead of living haphazardly, our energy depleted by wayward emotions, we have to gather our consciousness and work on ourselves every minute. The whole world yearns for freedom, yet each person is in love with his chains. This is the paradox and the inextricable knot of our nature. These are not my words, but those of Sri Aurobindo, one of the greatest spiritual masters of the 20th century. And he was a brilliant intellect who had a Cambridge degree. He was a master of about 12 languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, Marathi, Bengali, Hindustani. Then, of course, he retired and to an ashram. And the fruit of his spiritual practice was a vision of the future of man. And he says that man is a transitional being. We are not the last child of nature. Out of our present planetary life of man will come a more universalized life, lived not in this body, but in a body of light. So how do we get there? By enlarging our consciousness, by becoming more aware of ourselves, even down to the cellular level. By becoming masters of ourselves. The work has to be done in our bodies, in every cell. Because the step from man to the next creation is approaching, and it is inevitable because it is the logic of nature's process. Sri Aurobindo calls us all of us to be modern mystics, because this is the hour of God, because this is the first time that nature has given us an opportunity to collaborate because of our intellect, because of our consciousness. And our mistake is in judging the future by our present possibilities, because we must exceed our limitations. Yoga is something that can help. The first task of yoga is to breathe freely, to shatter the mental screen. Yoga helps to awaken a whole range of latent faculties and invisible forces that far exceed our present outer being. And it makes us capable of doing things that we may think is beyond our reach. And these powers are already within us, but they just have to be awakened. Because in the ordinary consciousness, we meet life through desire. Mental culture means we must also face emotions, because desire clouds our mind. So until we analyze that and we face the emotions that weaken us, fear, unhappiness, envy, anger, have to be transformed into courage, moral generosity, equanimity. Because life is a journey of consciousness, we are all doing this journey willy-nilly. It's a question of doing it consciousness with awareness. And awareness of ourselves, our bodies, our minds at every time. And apropos this, I might mention that one of the projects that I'm working on, Ian asked me especially to mention this, is in London with Lord Stone. We want to create something called the space to contemplate, which would give a sampling of various world traditions, including Zen and Sufism and Hinduism and Christianity, to anybody passing by who can walk in off the street, go to these 20 rooms, spend half hour in any one they choose, and if they want to, to follow up something more seriously, then we could guide them further. Because I think there's a great deal of personal freedom these days. There are Jewish friends of mine doing Buddhist meditations. There are Hindus going to Sufi Khanegas. There's, there is the personal freedom that we have today didn't exist, say, in 1950 or earlier. So truly, the last frontier left for us to explore is ourselves. And the last peak to be conquered is death. Thank you.